Yes, you did it. Yeah. Sí se puede. Felicidades. It is possible to do it. I know what you went through because I was there. Let me tell you something. Once, many years ago, 31 years to be exact, I was right there where you are. And I was a happy man, believe me. I think of that moment and I still smile. I had made a bet with my life and it had paid off. Just like you, I had enrolled at UCLA Extension to study journalism and television for 1 year, but for me, it was really very challenging. Yes, I know, well, you know, I have an accent, but just imagine how my English was 3 decades ago. It's true. Sometimes I couldn't even understand myself. That's how bad it was. So I started from scratch. As an immigrant from Mexico, everything was new for me. I had left my home, my family, my friends, and especially all the expectations that life was going to be easy and predictable. This country and this university have been incredibly generous with me. They gave me the opportunities that my country of origin couldn't give me. So let me tell you something. You don't become an immigrant because you want to. You become an immigrant because you have to. As French traveler Alexis de Tocqueville once said, the happy and the powerful don't go into exile. And in my case, I had to leave Mexico. This is the story. I was a young reporter working for a television network when my third story on the air, my third story was completely censored. Back then, when Mexico was not a democracy, you couldn't really criticize the president in the media. Well, I tried, and guess what? It didn't work. I was devastated. I didn't want to be a censored journalist, but I had a pretty good job, and my career was just beginning. Many people thought that I should just let it go and move on to the next story, but I just couldn't. So before being fired, I was going to be fired. There was no question about it. This is what I did. I wrote a letter of resignation, and I quit. It was really difficult. Some colleagues thought that I was crazy, giving up the opportunity to work on television, but I knew that if I had accepted censorship for that one time, it would have happened over and over again, and I wouldn't have been able to look myself in the mirror. So I left with no job, no money, and apparently with no future. Now, however, I think of that moment, that to quit that job was probably the most courageous and the best decision of my life. So be true to yourself. That's the first lesson. Don't live the life that others want to impose on you. And by the way, for many years, I kept that letter of resignation as a badge of honor. The second most difficult decision in my life was to immigrate alone to this country, to the United States. I sold my old car, it was really old, got a few dollars, and applied, just like you did, to UCLA Extension and came here with a student visa. You know, I'm sure you remember the first time you came to this country, but I still remember that moment. After landing at LAX, everything I owned, absolutely everything, including my guitar, I could carry with my both hands, everything. That's the sense of freedom, and I never felt freer in my whole life. I learned English, or just a little bit. I studied journalism for the first time in my life, and exactly 1 year later, with a UCLA Extension Certificate in my hand, I got a job at Univision, at a Univision station here in Los Angeles. Since then, Univision has been my home away from home. And what was supposed to be a 1 year experience in this country has been transformed into a rich, long, and incredibly exciting career. The Nobel Prize winner, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, I'm sure many of you know him, once wrote that to be a journalist is the best profession in the world. And he was right. It keeps you young, and it keeps you a rebel for all your life. Nothing in this world, well, look at this. Nothing in this world is foreign to a good journalist. Now, I'm so glad that I didn't have to follow my father's advice. He wanted me to become a doctor, an attorney, an engineer, or an architect, just like him. I still remember that when I told him that I wanted to become a journalist, guess what he told me? He said, "But what are you going to do with that?" And he said that in a special way that I still remember. Well, many years later, before he died, he would watch my newscast via satellite. He was in Mexico City. And frequently, he would call me on the phone afterwards to comment on my ties. He did that. He loved ties, and he would ask me what kind of color of your tie was and where did you buy it and so on. Anyway, it was funny. He would call me about my ties. But what I knew was this. We made peace before he passed away, and it was beautiful. He knew that I had made the right choice by coming to the United States and by following my passion. And too late in his life, he realized that he had made a huge mistake. As I told you, he was an architect, and it's not precisely that he loved architecture, but he chose that simply to satisfy his dad and to make a living. His passion, however, was magic. Yes, he was a great magician. He was always doing tricks on us, and the only time when he was really laughing and when he had fun was when he was performing his magic tricks on us. So this is the lesson. Don't be an architect if you really want to be a magician. Exactly. If you want to be a magician, be a magician. Find out what you want to do with your life. And it's quite easy. If it's something that really makes you tremble, it's what sparks joy and enthusiasm in you. And stick with it. Go where you have to go and do what you have to do. There is nothing worse in life than living your life in a place that you hate and spending every moment of your life doing what you don't like. Now, let me just finish by talking about the importance of second chances. Writer F. Scott Fitzgerald, one of the most influential writers in the 20th century, said the following: "There are no second acts in American life." Well, I think he was wrong. That means he didn't know about Apple founder Steve Jobs, and he was not enrolled at UCLA Extension. I'm sure you will understand this because it happened to you. This country is the mother of second chances. We all make mistakes, many mistakes, but I don't know any other country in the world in which you can reinvent yourself after a big mistake, like in the United States. There's even a ritual. You know how it is. After you do something stupid, and we all do stupid things sometimes, first, of course, you get very upset. Then you confess your mistake. You apologize very publicly for it. You take a break just for a few months. And if you are really sincere about it, you can come back, reinvent it. Americans are so generous that usually they'll give you a second chance. They give me a second chance. So sometimes it's not that you make a mistake, but that you happen to be born in a place where you don't even have a chance to thrive. Billions of people on this planet are born like that. But many immigrants, like me and many of you, were given a second chance. Now, this is not an abstract dissertation. It doesn't happen in a vacuum. Somebody has to give you that second chance. And for me, UCLA Extension gave me that second chance in life, and it allowed me to reinvent myself. I'm sure that many of you are as grateful as I am for this second chance. So in this afternoon of celebration, let me just say it twice. Thank you. Thank you. Before I go, let me show you something. It's really personal. I don't know if you can read it, but if not, I'll read it to you. This is my certificate from UCLA Extension. But wait, I was not as lucky as you are, because you're really lucky. In 1984, some of you were not even born. In 1984, I got this letter with my certificate on the mail. It said, "Congratulations on completing the course requirements for the certificate in journalism. The training you have received," remember, 1984, "the training you have received and the good work you have done should prepare you for a successful career in journalism." So, so this is what I want to do with you. Remember, 1984, no emails, no social media. It was completely different. And now I realize that I didn't have a graduation ceremony back then in 1984. I was already working, and I understand that back then there was no graduation ceremony. So if you allow me, and please do that, if you allow me, this afternoon, I want to graduate with you, okay? So, before I go, since we're going to graduate together, we're going to take a selfie. Another one? Yeah, another one. Thank you very much. We're graduating. We're Bruins.
Jorge, thanks so much for those words of encouragement and true inspiration for our graduates. I am honored to recognize you today with the 2015 UCLA Extension Professional Achievement Award for the outstanding work you do as a journalist, author, and news anchor. You are one who clearly does not shy away from difficult subjects, nor do you refrain from speaking truth to power. We are honored and proud to think that in some small way, UCLA Extension may have helped set you on your path. You are indeed an inspiration. Congratulations, Jorge.